Hey, we're live. What's up, Couch Crew? Welcome to Wellness Wednesdays with your girl CJ. Me, Christian Jackson, the daddy issues expert. I'm excited to be with you guys after being off for a week. Okay, this is the place you come to kick it with me, myself, a licensed professional counselor here in South Carolina for mental health and wellness tips. Oftentimes, we run into issues where we want to get the help, we're not really sure how to navigate that. We don't think we can afford it. We don't think we're worth it, whatever it is. My goal at Couch with Christian is to make sure that mental health and wellness tips, hacks, tricks, all that stuff is accessible to you. So get to know me if you have not already been a part of the Couch crew, which my friend Jessica, who's going to come on here later, has named you guys. The supporters of the movement, really making sure that information is accessible to you is the goal. Now, this daddy issues expert, the movement, I'm about to tell you about it. If you've been with me for a while, you know exactly what's up. My goal is to break the sting and the stigma of daddy issues, okay? When you think daddy issues, of course, what comes to mind? Later on, when you see this, comment in the chat for the replay, comment live. You can let me know what we already know, which is that people want to give us a bad rap. Women who are dealing with emotional trauma, right? That's exactly what daddy issues is. And so what I did was write some books because I've had my own stuff going on, right? A therapist who has gone to therapy, which we're going to get into tonight. I went and processed a lot of crap on the couch with Kim. Okay, that's my therapist's name. And so out of my journaling and all that kind of stuff, I came up with a manual, and this is where my babies were born. Okay, and so basically, this is your ultimate life hack to dealing with abandonment issues. When you feel like you're popping off at your partner or your neighbor or your kids and don't really know how to manage your emotions. When you feel big, and unfortunately, you shrink yourself in order to sacrifice what you need for other people's needs, right? Like, what is it that you are struggling with attachment wise? What is it that you're struggling with when you are dealing with your coworkers or even your supervisor? I start out the book talking about how I cussed my boss out once, whatever, right? All of this stuff comes and culminates into just really a lack of ability and accountability for my mental health. So when I went to therapy and I started to see my stuff, work on my things, work with the women that I've been seeing for years, then this is what I came up with. I'm taking the door of daddy issues, right? That's the angle that I'm talking about. Once you get into the book, then of course you're going to learn that there is way more to daddy issues than I'm just mad at my daddy. And in fact, transcending daddy issues and overcoming that issue means that we hold ourselves accountable and we don't blame our daddies, which is a whole different thing, right? And so I call it a manual because in between every chapter in the book, you get a chance to ask yourself some self-reflection questions. You get a chance to say, all right, now, like, that chapter triggered me. I don't really know what the hell's going on. I felt some type of way. I didn't like when Christian talked to me like that, whatever it was, but you get to write and journal about it. You get some tips that I know that work because for years I've been using these activities. So I'm all about hands-on practical things, right? So in between each chapter, you get to review what you just read. And then also this workbook, its sister, just kind of gives you more room to do even more work on your own. Now, I knew when I wrote this book that I wanted to do this live. Okay, I wanted to lead a group. And so the Daddy Issues Healing Circle was born, right? I published a book for y'all. It was new to y'all last year, but I wrote the book 2 years ago. And my journey was to make sure I shared a space for women and facilitated a space for women to be able to talk, right? And so tonight you get to hear from 2 more members of the Daddy Issues Healing Circle where we worked through the workbook and really kind of got down in that thing, right? We got really vulnerable. We talked, we shared, we cried, all the things together. Really, sometimes about daddy issues, sometimes not, right? We always looped it back to what that relationship looks like on whatever part of the spectrum, but we ended up talking about way more. And I know that y'all are probably tired of me talking about this whole thing, right? So what I want to do is bring on 2 women. Now, the special thing about these 2 women is that they are therapists. I'm so excited. So you guys get to hear from lovely professionals. You get to hear from people who are human, right? And one of the things that one of the therapists, I'm going to let her introduce themselves. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. But one of the things she says is that therapists are human too, right? And so it's one of the things that a lot of people don't really put a lot of thought into. You come to us, you think we know everything, when really I'm out here literally yelling at my kids 5 minutes ago. I'm just going to say it. It's life. You know, we scheduled this new time to accommodate all of us who are moms and struggling to try to adjust to the new school time. So y'all kick back and relax, and you don't have to hear from just me. You've already heard about the Daddy Issues Healing Circle from me, of course, but also another amazing member, Nia, who came on. You can go back and watch my content and see what she had to say about it. But what I want you guys to keep in mind as we are rolling through tonight's program is that we are hearing from Jessica and Crystalline, the people, the women, and then also the professionals. So I'm hoping here from you guys in the comments, engage. I like to have some discussion. We're going to go as long as we need to try to get this information out. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get Jessica Van up here on the screen. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. So shout out to the visionaries, her supporters who have been seeing her content, or at least her share of my content. You get to introduce yourself to the Couch Crew. So welcome, Jessica Van of Envision Counseling. What's up, sis?
Hi! I'm so excited to hear you say that because I'm the only one who's been saying visionary. So yes, it's a thing now.
Yes, I just started using Couch Crew.
I love it. I just knew instantly. That's the Couch Crew. So thank you so much for having me. Again, I am Jessica Van, licensed professional counselor. I have my own private practice, Envision Counseling. Wow, a good place to put the But I'm just excited to be here today. And you're absolutely right. There's chaos waging outside this door with the kids getting stuff together. So I'm glad to be on this side.
So yes, you guys will get to hear a lot more from Jessica, and I want to pull up my notes because frankly I just threw the program together as I usually do about 10 minutes before the show, but I did it a full probably 2 hours before the show just because I got company tonight. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want my guests to be lost. And so I'm going to go ahead and get Crystalline on the screen. I see you were here and settled. So Crystalline of Carolina Counseling, what's up?
Hey,
what's up, lovely?
How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Great.
I'm doing good.
All right, I'm going to play with this little setting to see what I like. I don't know how this is going to work. I guess we're just going to do this. We're going to do this. But I don't want to be the biggest person. Okay, sorry. Thank you, guys. So, Crystalline, please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you're about, what's going on.
Well, I'm Crystalline Howard. I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of South Carolina, and I'm the founder of Carolina Counseling Consultants, located in Columbia. However, been a virtual counselor since March of 2020.
Girl, weren't we all since March?
Go me.
Yeah. It's a whole thing.
I actually enjoy it a lot. I was doing some virtual before, but I like it a lot. It offers convenience for my clients. The women I serve, they are silently suffering with a lot of stuff. They might be your strong friend who shows up for everybody. She's the encourager, the supporter, the motivator. But secretly inside, she feels really empty. She may be the mom who is a hard worker. She works 40 hours a week, plus takes care of her children and her partner at home. But she feels really guilty swiping her card to pay for the massage that she desperately needs. So those are the women who I work with every day. And we'll talk some more about how I help them later, I guess.
Yes, we will. I will totally give you more time because I want people to know who you're with and like that I don't do this by myself. Now, y'all see these women on the screen. We's in the group chat every day. Okay. And I'm just going to be very candid when it comes to stuff like, Lord, this damn healing circle. I'm so tired of talking about it and pushing it out. Like, these are the women who hold space for me, among others. But every single day we are in the chat, just encouraging each other and pushing each other. And Jessica, I do want you to talk about who you serve. Just so that people get an idea.
So I often say that I specialize in sex and relationships. And to further drill that down, I work with women who are dealing with postpartum or perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. And so that is a group of women who are much like Crystalline just described. With the couples, they're still trying to figure out their intimacy. They're trying to figure out how do we get that spark back? We have kids. We're dealing with the chaos of school. How do we relate to one another again? How does does this even make sense for all of us? And so that is the community I serve. And it's funny, Christian says we're always in the group chat. Christian's name and Krislin's name comes up at least once or twice a day in a session, you know, because like she said, we're not doing this alone. I have no problem saying, you know what? I have a friend who's the daddy's issue expert. Like, let her reach out to her and see how this group can help you. Or I have a friend who has this group that helps women to deal with their roles because I'm starting to figure it out myself. So we are a team. I like to call us the conglomerate behind the scenes. I have to name things.
I like that.
So I love it.
Yeah, that's my community, and I'm gonna get with Krislin so I can say it more smooth like she did, because she did that.
That's my elevator pitch.
People know, yes. And don't she be getting on us about our elevator pitch? Like, you need to know.
Yes.
Crystal to be like, when they come to your website, they need to be feeling this.
That's right.
And when you leave, you know what I'm saying? Because we know that there are people who are seeking services from people like us. And they don't really know where to start. And sometimes we have that one little hook. And it's so important to have that reminder. And I'm so thankful for that. Because if we're thinking about women with daddy issues who are in a certain space where they are broken, tired, wondering where the hell to go for the support, what the support's going to look like, how much is it going to cost, like what should I invest in myself, do I have the time, like Krislin said, like feeling guilty that I am even swiping the card for a pedicure. So that is where people come. That is why I have people come to this space, the Daddy Issues Healing Circle. On my Instagram, on both of your Instagrams, y'all are sharing great content each and every day, every other day. So y'all get into it and we're going to talk about how to follow them. But it's a space that I wanted to create so that we can have these conversations. So I want to hear from you guys. And again, for those of you who are just joining, we are talking about the Healing Circle. Both Jessica and Krislin have been members, and they're going to answer from their personal side, as well as kind of putting that professional hat on for any therapists out there who may want to join themselves or send clients, just kind of give both sides. So tell us why, besides being my lovely friends that supported me, what brought you to the Daddy Issues Healing Circle?
I don't know who's starting, but girl, we wouldn't think about you, okay? We had things to
I know I wasn't. That's for sure, because we could have talked to you on the phone about what was going on. If that's the case, no, we wanted to get the real professional support. We paid for the support.
Thank you for saying that.
Because
investment.
Yeah, it was an investment in our growth and our healing. And I know for me, I knew that I needed something different than what I was experiencing. Things in a lot of areas of my life are going well. Some things could be better, but releasing myself from my dad's stuff that has nothing to do with me is what I wanted to do. And I had already had the book and had gone through the book. But when I first got the book, I think I remember telling Christian, like, I read the intro, because you let some people get like a sneak peek of the first chapter. And I was like, no, that's okay. That's all right. I don't want to do this. It was so triggering. I read that chapter.
I wanted you to say why.
I X'd out of the screen, and I ordered the book. And I put it on my bookshelf. I was like, nope, that's okay.
That's where we were thinking about you. And this is what I loved about the group, because Krislin, you know, I've heard her say that. And I felt the same way. I was very much like, okay, this is helpful for my clients. I don't need this. I was very, very resistant, because I'm like, I don't have daddy issues, you know. And my daddy issues are a little different. So I thought it put me in a class of my own. But here I am in a group with women who are saying, no, my father's deceased too, and I don't know how to reconcile that. Or no, I also have a really great stepfather who I can't connect with because of these issues with my biological father. And so it was that feeling of like, I don't really need this. And so when Christian brought up the group, I was like, yeah, but what? Okay, it'll be helpful for my clients. I kind of do a lot of things under the guise of, this is research for my clients. It's not for me at all. And I pretty much realized, I would say probably about week 2, that I was like, ooh, girl, you didn't touch on this at all. Like, why have you been in therapy working on stuff, and this is something you haven't talked
what
about
have you been
at
talking
all?
about?
Why are we paying this woman? Like, what is happening? Yeah.
It's easier to address the superficial stuff or the day-to-day stuff. And it's harder to do the deep work. And for me, I've got an apology from my dad, and we have what I consider to be a healthy relationship, considering how things used to be, but something was still missing. Still a lot of resentment, still a lot of guilt, still a lot of shame. Because I had these expectations that, okay, we've reunited and he's apologized after all this time. And when I say reunited, I mean, trying to work. Well, what I thought was working towards getting our relationship on a good space, but I still low key was like, yeah, no, I don't really trust you like that. Because I needed you to show up for me, even as an adult, right? You don't stop needing your parents when you become an adult. I need you to show up for me. And in the group, I recognized that was too much pressure. It was not realistic for me to have him, to give him that much responsibility for my happiness. And it's something I say to my clients all the time. And so I was sure to make sure I didn't do that with my husband. I was sure to make sure I didn't do that with my friends, but I neglected that part of me that didn't know that I was making my dad responsible for a piece of my happiness. And that came up for me in the group. And I was like, wait, so this is why when it's time for an event to happen, if I know it's not going to just be us, I'm just like, yeah, well, I'm not going. I'm not going to go, because we need to have our time together. And so working through resentment and working through what forgiveness really looks like.
Ooh, child.
Yeah, that part. When you say I forgive you, but you really are not walking in forgiveness.
Two totally different things, right?
It is.
And you hit on a lot of things that when y'all were talking about not wanting to read the book for yourself or get too close to it. Like, that's how I felt writing the book. You know what I'm saying? Like, people will ask me how long it took me, and I'll say, oh my gosh, like I probably put it up and down for like a year and some change, because I was reliving things. And my dad and I are not talking to this day. So for those of you who are looking for a spoiler alert, then that's not how the book ends. And Kristen Lynn is talking a lot about what I had to realize when it came to my own journey to forgiveness. And I did a Wellness Wednesday on this a couple of weeks ago, where I really just had to release him of responsibility, understand and empathize where he is in his journey and how trauma has impacted him, which doesn't mean that it's okay. But what it does mean is I don't have to sit there and wait for it. Like I'm missing out on life. You know what I'm saying? And so there was a lot of that coming up for me and me getting in my own way. And so that came out for me when I was actually writing it, putting it up and down and kind of talking to my mom about it and going back to talk to my brother about it, because there were some things I was just like wondering how they experienced it and watched me experiencing those things. We don't have these spaces a lot, right? Where we could be super vulnerable. And so I want you to talk about why it's so important, because I hear all the time, I don't need therapy. I don't need to go talk about this stuff. What am I bringing that back up for? And then you look at your current life, sis, like I have to have these conversations with my clients. So I just want you to talk in general about what you would say to someone who says that they don't need this space, what you tell your clients. Why is it that we need this space? And I do want to say, hey, Taylette, I see you here. She's also a therapist in the chat.
I heard something so beautiful and so simple today, and because I'm addicted to TikTok, and the guy said, if it's coming up, it's coming up to go. Ooh. And when people think about therapy and things, you have things that are coming up, and you need a space, you need a safe space for those things to go. And it just, I think that was one of the things for me in the group, because I had said to myself so many times, I do things because I want my dad to be proud of me, right? But having a space where there were other women in the group to say, well, your dad is proud of you. Are you proud of you? And really, really get me to say, like, I know you love your dad, but him being proud of you, you're not enjoying what you are doing because you're waiting for something that's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we need those spaces, especially groups like this, where we can get those things that are coming up, bring them out, and then hear other people's feedback. And one of the things I really appreciated about you, Christian, is you gave the space. Like, you weren't, because we know there's a lot of professionals that are like, I know everything, let me just tell you what's happening.
What's wrong with you?
How you supposed to feel.
Right.
Instead of allowing the client to process, which is something we're supposed to do, but sometimes you're like, let me just make this easy and tell you what's going on. But you really gave us that space. Like, you really were like, well, what do you guys think about what Jessica just said? And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel myself tensing up waiting for the feedback. I felt myself being open for that feedback. And that is why you need these safe spaces, because it allows you to be open. You know that you have a similar story and that no one here is here to attack you. We're all here to heal. And so that's what I would say to someone. It's like, hey, this is a shared space for healing. And you need this.
And we don't say
Jessica,
shit.
That was good.
That was good. That was. Because I'm thinking about all the things like that we just gave to each other. And y'all, this is a virtual group, and that's what I want to say is how powerful the baggage is that we carry. You can feel it through the screen, like all the things, the energy that we kind of exchange every Monday night, week to week, and in the group that we have separate on Facebook, like there are just things that we know that we were carrying. And it was nice to just say, girl, can you just hold this for me? Just look at this for me real quick.
Right. And I'll share too that, so before the group, Christian and I had only met in person once when COVID happened. Yeah. Yes. And I hadn't ever met Jessica or the other ladies, of course, in person ever. And, but at the first group, after the first group, Jessica was texting in one group and she was like, sis, you okay? And I was like, Then that's how powerful it is. Like, there is a lot there that says a lot about the power of group, about the power of women connecting, about the power of women supporting each other, empowering each other, encouraging one another, even if we are not literally physically in the same space. The connection was really, really strong. And that's what I appreciated about the group. I was excited to come to the group, frustrated if I had to be late to the group.
Mom life.
Because of life. I even ended up having to miss one. And that was so devastating for me. But everybody welcomed me back in when I was able to return the next week. So yes, for people who think that I don't need to do this, or what difference it's going to make, or it's not going to help, I say, don't knock something until you try it. That's just like saying, well, I just know McDonald's French fries are nasty. Well, how you know? Everybody loves McDonald's French fries.
Everybody.
You ain't never tried them. How can you say?
So it's got to be good. You know what I'm saying?
You don't know if you don't try. If there is something, if this, like Jessica said, this stuff keeps coming up. If you're wondering why your relationships, you keep choosing the wrong partners. If you're wondering why you're the friend who's like, well, I don't have any girlfriends, I only get along with guys. If you're wondering why you're doubting yourself every time you go to make a decision, second guessing yourself, this group can be really, really helpful. And yes, daddy issue shows up for us in a lot of ways that don't look like what society makes us think daddy issues are.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. That's my entire point for the movement, right? Like we got to give concrete language and kind of expand the lens on what we think we know, if I'm honest. And so, hey, Brittany, I see you in the chat there. And so I just want to slide into, speaking of, now we're talking about the group experience for y'all, talk about which group was the most impactful session for y'all. What would you say? I know I have my favorite, but I'm gonna let y'all go first.
I was sad because this is the one I was most looking forward to, and then I ended up being late. But the one about your Heavenly Father and your spirituality. Because again, since my father is deceased, that plays a major role, right? Like,
yeah.
This is my heavenly father. And I think it really helped me to kind of, one, be able to share my spiritual journey, because it's something that a lot of my family and some of my friends don't understand, and be able to put that out, put it into words, make sense of it all, and then have people say, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense that you would feel this way. And then unintended consequence, it really also made me start thinking, you do have an earthly father. You have an amazing stepfather who has never made any difference between you and his kids. You might need to be putting some attention into that relationship, you know? So that one for me really did a lot.
That is a good one. That's a whole chapter in the book, because that was, I put that in there separately because I felt like it needed attention, probably even more than what I wrote about. But my therapist told me to consider why I was having such a block spiritually, because I knew I've always been raised to like return to Christ, that's just like my foundation. And funny enough, my dad was a youth pastor and he knows the word. He's the one who was the spiritual leader for our household. And so when she said that there may be a block, she was like, well, maybe no wonder, you know, there's this theory that I would say is true, that I couldn't connect to my heavenly father because my tangible experience, the one I can make sense of in my human brain, is the one that I have here on earth. And I was just like, oh crap, that's why, you know. So that's what kind of led me to letting daddy's responsibility that I was putting on him go, because he wasn't worried about it. But for me, I was just like, well, Christ has never let me down. Like, no wonder I see him the way that I did, because that's how my earthly daddy was treating me, you know, like in my spiritual faith. Like that was a really, really big one for me. So I'm glad you brought that up, because you were able to open everyone's lenses, I think, in that discussion about just different ways you connect to your father who is transitioned. And so that was just a beautiful way for us to see there are different ways that we can connect spiritually, and it's way more than the box of religion, right? That's a whole different discussion, I know, but I was really thankful that you did get to make it and talk about it. I give you guys this crystal, right? It's one of my favorite things. And however you decide to connect with this crystal, this is part of the welcome packet that comes with the Daddy Issues Healing Circle. This is rose quartz, right, Jess?
Yes, it is.
The pink one. And that is love, right?
Really good for self-love.
I'm learning because I'm opening that up for myself too. And so this is something that comes with the welcome packet as a grounding tool, as a spiritual medium, whatever it is that you need to be, a talisman, whatever it needs to be for you. So I keep that really close to me every single session, because as therapists, we take on so much trauma and so much stuff. And sometimes I just need to remind myself that I'm on earth. I'm okay. Like, let me center myself. And that's one of my favorite things. What about you, Chrislyn?
That week was one of my favorite weeks too. And when you taught us your special acronym for GRACE.
Oh, yes. That thing saved my life, honey. Okay.
It saves mine often as well. So that for me was one of the most impactful nights, because I recognize that I do not extend myself grace, even with working through the group. When stuff comes up and you recognize that, okay, well, I'm not the daddy's girl, at least not the stereotypical idea of a daddy's girl, or I need to, or I should have this kind of relationship or these kind of interactions with my dad, because people I know, their dads are no longer here, and extending myself grace helped me to rescript those messages, and to identify, you know, okay, why am I telling myself I should do this? Why am I putting all this pressure on myself? Why don't I have some more boundaries, even for me, and how I have a relationship with my dad and what that looks like? And it can be whatever he and I decide it's going to look like, whatever works for us. It does not matter what anybody else's relationship with their father looks like. I don't have to. The comparison is
a thief.
Yes. Yes. And so, and I recognized I was even doing that, comparing my relationship with my dad to other people's relationship with their living or deceased father. And I was able to move past that through every week in the group. And what ended up happening is, so my interactions or encounters with my dad after that, a lot of the pressure was off. If I was able to see him and spend time with him, good. And if I wasn't, that was okay too. Before, it was, we need to call more, you need to show up more. If he calls and asks you to do anything, you can't say no, you can't say, because Jessica, she didn't have her dad, and at least you got your dad, and you should. And that's just way too much pressure. So giving myself grace and force made me put more boundaries in place, even for myself.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's part of the transformation, right? Like coming into the group before I was this way, and now I'm able to take the pressure off. That's been a theme for my whole life lately. I'm just like, I'm just gonna do this thing, whatever. I just got audited by Select Health for Medicaid, and I'm like, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not gonna let that control me, because normally I'd be like, oh crap, but it's just rolling off my back right now, because I know how much that steals from my sanity. You know what I'm saying? It's just not fair, because my anxiety can kick all the way up. I'm gonna just say real quick, my favorite group was the one about friendships. It was really fun. I believe Nia, who y'all have met, Couch Crew, if you will go back and watch the content, she actually came on here and talked about her experience as well. And I think she was the only one missing from that night. Like, here, like, this would be our group. It was just the four of us. It was really nice and intimate, and we got to talk a lot about what friendship means in relation to daddy issues. And so I really was, I learned even more about Jessica, who I've known for like 15 years already. But, I still got to learn more about how you perceived yourself in holding relationships together. I got to see you differently. Knowing Crystalline for the last year and a half, I'm getting to see, okay, so this is how she operates in our relationship and why. And when she says certain things, I'm understanding where it's coming from and relating and y'all validated me and kind of like reinforced some of the things that I was concerned about. Because I don't think we really think about why daddy issues or how daddy issues are related to the type of people we are and how we show up in relationships. So that's, that's one of the books in the chapter is the attachment style. So we're not just talking about intimate relationships like sexually or with our romantic partners, but how do you attach in your friendships? How do you show up in those relationships? And so because my friendships are like my family, the way my family is set up, like, there were more friends at my wedding than my family. I really hold those near and dear. And so that is why I felt like that was like a really big eye-opening kind of fun kind of group to kind of put two things together that may not go together.
It's just crazy because you just had a light bulb go off in my head again.
Oh, what was it?
And I don't know if I said this in the group, but I was like, maybe my dad being absent is the reason why I cling to friendships. Like,
you said
my friends already know. Okay, we go together. Period.
Yeah, you said they cannot break up with you.
Get mad with
me.
If you want to throw hands, let's throw hands, and then let's go eat and get over it. Okay,
we're gonna be fine.
So, yeah, we gonna be fine. Okay, if you need to yell. Fine. My feelings gonna be hurt for a little bit, but we gonna move forward. I don't know if I still need to work on that, Christian. I'll be in touch.
No, I think you're doing good.
Daddy issues reloaded.
Okay, come to the live group. Figure it out.
And I think just speaking of just like friendships, what I hear so much, y'all, and you probably hear this on your couches, okay? The woman who says, I don't do girls, I don't do friends, I don't trust them. And so I think that might be part of just the answer to what I wanted to bring up next, which is like what has people on the fence about it. Like, I don't do females, so why would I join the group type of thing? But I think kind of sliding into and kind of giving you this platform, Crystalline, about your specialty dealing with women's anxiety. I want you to kind of talk more about that as far as anxiety, keeping women on the fence.
Oh, yeah.
That barrier?
Well, that comparison, right? Comparing ourselves to other people. There's this whole thing about the struggle contest. Like, let me just one up you, because what I experienced, girl, you know, it was 2 times as worse as what you went through. I'm not sure what that's about, but
yeah, why is that okay?
yeah, it's not okay. It's not okay. And you know, being vulnerable, just as Black women, right? We have to be strong, whatever that means for you, your family, your culture. Strength does not equal crying and telling people your business.
Okay.
We just don't do that. And so a lot of times we end up burying a lot of what we really truly feel. And we wear a mask. We hide behind our accomplishments. We hide behind our lashes and our makeup. We hide behind our bags and our cars. We hide, you know, we hide behind a lot of things, and people don't get to see the real us. So I know part of what I'm learning, even with the women I work with every day, is they don't really know what it means to be supported. What does that look like? So when you say, well, hey, I have this support group that you can be a part of, what does that mean? Another woman, other women who don't know me, supporting me, what does that look like? And I have to tell them my secrets. You know, I'm not signing up for that. And I got to pay to tell my business to a bunch of strangers.
I don't even know if it's going to work.
No, I don't. Right. And that's the scary part about therapy, because it's hard to paint a picture of what transformation looks like. It's hard to paint a picture of what healing can look like, what growth can look like. It's hard to paint that picture. And it's really, really scary to hear women say, well, this is just how I am. And then this is how I'm going to be. I've always been this way. So what difference would it make for me to change now? So empowering women to take the step to be vulnerable enough to maybe remove one layer at a time. So if we think about it in terms of the book, maybe we don't have to do all chapters in 8 weeks. It may take us 8 weeks to do one chapter.
Yeah.
Facts.
And that's okay. That is totally okay.
Kristen, you said some things, girl. I don't know about
y'all. Always saying things.
You do.
I love it.
I don't know about y'all, but you know, when you see multiple clients in a day, I notice a theme. Usually there's a theme for the day.
Yes.
And today it was challenge. And women not wanting to be challenged, feeling they've faced enough challenges. And I am big on reframing now. Well, what's another word that feels more comfortable? Because I see challenge as growth. If we're not challenged, if we're comfortable with this is just who I am, this is how I'm going to be. And the fact of the matter is you're not comfortable. You're not comfortable. And so like seeing challenge as growth is one thing. You know, you have to use different words. And then it could take you 8 weeks for one chapter. Like that is the genius of the book, Christian. Thank you very much. Because I've been able to use it with my clients just by keywords. When things come up about friendships, let me go to this chapter. So let me tell you a little bit about that. I don't give them too much, don't worry. But you know, so enough to help. This is where you can find the book. But that is the genius of the way the book is structured, because I've really been able to use it and pull out whatever that theme is for the day. And I do it often. So yeah.
You know, and since we got you on, Jess, I want you to talk about what you notice in kind of like your niche, one of your niches, I guess, because you're just really good at helping me in my personal life. Y'all, I can't tell you how many times I literally have to call Jessica about my sex life. Sorry, Tony, I love you. But you know, just like really,
we all got to talk
just
about
like
it.
Connecting, you know, just making sure that, you know, I'm comfortable in my space. Like Jessica does a really good job of, if I can say, helping me own my brand of sexy is what you say, right? Just like making me feel like I don't have to be a certain way. So that's what I get. And I ain't got to pay you for it because we know each other. But, you know, what I get from talking to you about just who I'm supposed to be, right? Because women with daddy issues are a certain box, and I'm supposed to be a certain way if I'm a woman, and I'm a certain size and shade and all that stuff. So can you talk about what you hear on your couch in this topic?
We start with the scripts, and a lot of times, I ask women, not just specifically what did your parents talk to you about sex, but what did they talk to you about who you wanted to be, about how you show up in the world. And a lot of times I hear, my dad was very critical of me. My dad would tell me, if I was scribbling my name next to a little boy's, don't do that. That's hoe shit. Oh my God. If your dad
just off of a little crush,
what do you do with that? Yeah. And so I will say, well, now you're an adult and you get to identify what you're comfortable with and what you want. And you don't have to be uncomfortable with relationships anymore because your dad doesn't get to write the script. Your mom doesn't get to write the script. And so we do a lot of unlearning, which is really hard because if you've been doing something for 36 years, it's difficult for someone to say, you know what, there's a new way to do that. And then a lot of women, what I see is then they feel silly. Oh, I should have known that. I shouldn't be this.
Oh, yeah.
And I say, look, now, would you push your 2-year-old down and be like, you should have been walking and talking, a year and a half ago? No. So why are you doing it to yourself? Like, when we know better, we do better. And so a lot of times it's just letting go of the scripts that our fathers have written for us and deciding who we want to be. That's a lot of what I see.
Yes. And you said, speaking of keywords, just fathers. So the tagline of the book is how to detangle from the sins of our fathers. And we are unlearning things, not just from our own 36, 35, 40 years, but from like hundreds of years of like how so much trauma generationally has been passed down. It is a lot of work. And I think I could speak for all of us when I say our work as therapists is literally erasing and wiping and relearning and rescripting for like probably the first
it's ongoing.
Months.
Yeah.
Yes, it is ongoing.
We're seeing so much more of it because COVID done told us to sit down and
you got to sit with yourself.
Okay.
Right.
That's a scary place to be for a lot of people, therapists included. So
I'm out here doing therapy and yet I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm like, sis, my kids are in the background. I'm here and I'm totally present. However,
and just the freedom to be able to say that, just to say, hey, since COVID, I've been working from home. You may hear something, but I'm here. You're behind the door. Nobody has your information. We're good. Let's dig in. And then, Christian, I don't know if this is the place to say this, but I'm going to say it.
Sure.
Oh, gosh, she's going to say it anyway.
You know me. That's what I do.
I'm going to turn my camera off because I don't want them to know I was a part of the conversation.
We need daddy issues for clinicians because... I have had I have heard that a clinician may have told someone that you have daddy issues. And she said, the disgust in which she said, you have daddy issues just hit me so hard. And she said, I don't think I have daddy issues, but if I did, that's not the way I want to be told. And I think it is important. I want to advise a therapist do that. I mean, if you don't think you have daddy issues, do it for your clients because it is important for us to hold space and not for things just in this DSM, but things that, daddy issues isn't in the DSM yet.
It's not in DSM.
We're going to get there, but hold space.
Don't make me get my book because y'all know.
Okay, go ahead, pull it out.
I'll read that criteria.
Kristen will pull out the list in a minute.
And when Kristen wasn't in group to do that, it felt empty.
It was wrong. It was not right.
I like to connect the dots. The dots so you can see how your stuff is showing up in your everyday life.
That's what we're supposed to be doing and not and checking our bias at the door because for a client to say the level of disgust in which this therapist told me I had daddy issues.
Oh my God.
Because I've been logging off. You was not getting paid today. Let me change my phone.
Let me change my phone.
Yeah.
That is not okay. Yeah. I mean, that is definitely something that I thank y'all for even engaging in the group, like you said, for yourselves, but just that y'all are not too good, quote unquote, to get support that you need, right? I think all of us have been in therapy. We've said it in some way or another, someplace. And that is what I call being responsible. I'm waiting for Crystalline's group for therapists. I ain't lying. So I want you to start, like, as we wrap up, I'm waiting for Beyond Her Roles, the therapist edition. I'm just going to say that. But I do want you, go ahead. Let's talk about Beyond Her Roles. Y'all, I want you to get into this now, okay? When I get a phone call for a referral, Jessica and Crystalline are on the list along with Tina, Malik, Cheryl, a whole bunch of people. Shout out to y'all, because I am not the only person here in the community. People would say, hey, I want to work with you. And I'm like, that's great. And thank you. But this group is going on. That group is going on. I don't do sex. I don't do kids. I don't do this. So let me just connect you. So I want to talk about, not only is the Daddy Issues Healing Circle starting next month on the 13th, literally, y'all, all of our groups are starting in the same week. Isn't that funny? So let's talk about Beyond Her Roles. Tell us what your group's about, Crystalline.
So the Beyond Her Roles mental wellness group is for the woman who is so consumed with all of the responsibilities that come with the role she has. I was going to say forgotten, but I don't even think she ever even knew how to take care of herself. This woman has it's been modeled for her that you do all of it, and you do it, and you do not complain. And I guess you get your reward when you get to heaven. Yes. Yeah.
I guess that's
call me greedy.
You just wait now. Yeah. And so we spend time talking about, do I really have anxiety, or am I just like worried all the time? And is my worry consuming me? Am I so sad that it's so overwhelming to me that now I am not showing up as a mom, as a sister, as a wife, as a friend in the way that I really want to? Am I taking on all of these responsibilities that I have that I don't have any control over, plus everybody else's stuff? Am I carrying around baggage from some of maybe my daddy issues? So we spend time talking about this stuff every week. The women get practical tips on how to manage their anxiety if it's showing up, how to handle some overwhelming sadness if it's showing up. It's not a therapy group. So if the sadness is ongoing or recurring or chronic, or the anxiety is overwhelming and intense, I do refer them to therapy, because this is a mental wellness support group. We learn tips on how to manage their time wisely, how to say no, or the art of saying no with a little less guilt. I don't think that it's realistic to say that we'll be able to tell people no with no guilt, but we work on saying it with less guilt. The women get a personalized mental wellness plan, and when they sign up, they get a customized self-care package, specially created by me, that they get in the mail. So the group starts on Wednesday, September 15th. We'll run a group on Wednesdays and Thursday night concurrent. So if you sign up for Wednesdays, Wednesday is your night. Or if you sign up for Thursdays, Thursday is your night. So visit CarolinaCounselingConsultants.com, click on the tab that says Beyond Her Roles, and do the form to sign up today.
Yes, you guys can see it rolling down at the bottom of your screen for the last couple minutes.
Christian.
I know, girl, I paid for this good here, StreamYard, okay? And so you guys also, if you notice scrolling at the bottom, you can see where to follow Crystalline. This is her Instagram tag at Carolina Counseling. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so that is what she has going on, and I wanted you to say more about like the roles and stripping off the layers. That's how. So
these roles. And the first few weeks we talk about what our primary roles are. So everybody may not be a wife or a mom, but you are somebody's daughter. And you're likely somebody's friend. If nothing else, you have at least those two roles. So what are your responsibilities as someone's daughter, and maybe as someone's friend? And there are women who are taking care of their aging parents. There are women who are trying to support their friends who are losing their parents. There are women who are starting businesses. There are women who are, starting their careers over a second time. There are women who are raising children on their own. And all of these responsibilities can be all consuming. And sometimes we hide behind those responsibilities, and our stuff it shows up in our relationship. You talked about friendships, man. Can you imagine dealing with all of this other stuff not dealing with all this other stuff, not dealing with your baggage,
Yeah.
which is real talk, not dealing with your baggage. And it definitely has a negative impact on how you show up for your friends. Or maybe you are the friend that when things go bad, you isolate yourself. So everybody thinks you ghosted them. Well, really, you've been having panic attacks and no one knows. So we spend time deep diving into all of that stuff, and then helping women to set realistic expectations for themselves, teaching them how to set realistic boundaries in all of their relationships. So sometimes you're going to have to say no to people. You're not going to be able to go to every event. You're not going to be able to help everybody with everything. Sometimes you're going to have to go to bed early. Sometimes you're going to have to let the laundry go undone. Sometimes you are going to have to go to Chick-fil-A and get dinner. It's all those things are okay.
Yes.
Yeah, all of those things are okay.
They good fries.
And you don't have to have any guilt about that, right? Just if your kids eat McDonald's, it's okay.
They're gonna be all right.
They will be just fine. They will. They will.
Yes. Thank you for that, Crystalline. I want to say, like, I have learned a lot from you in regards to different ways to say no. One of my favorites that I pitch to my clients a lot is the options. Give yourself options, right? Like, you don't have to say no immediately. Like, what are some other things? That, and Shayla Peterson, hey, she also does really good with that too. And saying, like, setting that boundary and kind of saying no. So I use your stuff a lot in my own therapy.
So tip three ways to know if you should say no.
Okay.
Number one, do you have the time? Like the actual literal time to do it. Number two, do you have the energy or the capacity? And number three, do you even want to do it? If you cannot say yes to all three, then you likely need to say no. Now, there are some things in our life where we don't get to ask ourselves those questions, right? If you work for somebody, your boss don't care. If you don't have the time, you got to do it. It does not matter. It doesn't matter if you're super exhausted and you didn't make it to McDonald's. Now you got to go in the kitchen and fix your kids something to eat. So some things in our life, we don't get to ask ourselves those questions. That's already a big part of our energy. So this other stuff that we do have a choice on whether or not we can say yes or no. Why would you deplete what's left of your energy by giving it to everybody else? Pour into yourself first. I know part of my purpose is to empower women to take care of themselves first. The people around you benefit when you're less irritable because you did get a nap, because you weren't up to midnight, because you did take actual sick day or personal day. That's not cool to let your personal days just build up for what?
Because you can't always take it with you, first of all.
Heck no. There's nothing cute about that unless you're saving it up for your 10-day trip to Hawaii or somewhere. But just to be saving it up, no. No, use your sick leave, ladies. Just saying.
Yes. Just saying. Thank you for that. I can't wait to hear how your group goes. This is the second time you're running your group.
Yes.
And as y'all heard, she's got options. So you got Wednesday and Thursday night, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
They're running concurrently. So y'all check out Crystalline on her Instagram, go to her website, get to know and get into what she has going on. So y'all listen, we've got other things, and I'm not done because we also have Jessica's inaugural
group. Dessert.
I know, it's so exciting. I feel like Oprah. Hey, you get a group and you get a group. So Jessica, please tell us about your inaugural group.
So my group, Rebuild Intimacy, is starting September 13th. I took a page from these ladies, right? And a hard talking to by Crystalline. Oh, girl, you got all these things. Put it out, okay?
Is that what I said?
Not quite like that. And in Christian too. You gonna keep writing content and not do anything
and not put it out. Okay. Yay!
So here it is. And see, I love this. I am not sensitive about being read because sometimes you need to be read. But September 13th to November 8th it's an 8-week group for couples, and I know that's not 8 weeks, that's 9, but here's why. The first 4 weeks, we're going to take a look at some broad terminology such as love, romance, desire, and passion. Now, these are often the foundation for our relationship, things that we have time for when it's just the two of us, but things that get left behind as we are doing our roles, as we are becoming wife, mother, friend, daughter, as our husbands are doing very similarly the same thing on their end. But I want to get couples on the same page about these terms. I wonder, ladies, and you can ponder this inside, how many of you had a conversation with your husbands about what is your definition of love and what does it look like in our marriage? Here's my definition of love, and this is what it looks like. Oftentimes, far too often, couples are operating on different definitions. And they can't figure out why they're not speaking the same language, why they're not connecting the way that they used to when it was just automatic because it was fun and new. So I want to take the first 4 weeks to get on the same page about these terms, especially with my monogamous couples. I want to talk about what does monogamy look like to you and what does it look like to you? Because again, sometimes we're not on the same page. Then the 5th week is an action break. This is where they get to take those foundational terms, really work on it between themselves, take opportunity to journal, take an opportunity to get reconnected before we get into the various types of intimacy. When I say intimacy, and especially because I am a sex therapist, people instantly jump to sex, but it's not just about sex. It's about communicating effectively with one another, which requires that you get on the same page. It's about being able to share your hobbies with one another. And so we're going to talk about different types of intimacy. And of course, we're going to get to the sex, but we're going to put it last because that is not the end all be all for relationships. And we need to make sure that couples are connecting in different ways. And much like Crystalline was saying about pouring into yourself, I believe wholeheartedly that there's a little bit of selfishness in every relationship. I do believe that women should be pouring into themselves so abundantly that their partner benefits, and their partner should be doing the same. Relationships, I always show them as a Venn diagram, the relationships in the middle. But if you're leaving the self out, there's a part of you that's not invited to the relationship, and that does not work. So that is Rebuild Intimacy. I'm super excited about it. I would love to have 2 more couples. I would love to have 2 more couples. But if I can get 1 more, it's on, baby. We gonna get started. And you're gonna have your little custom welcome package as well. I don't know what's gonna be in it, but you're gonna have one. So hopefully you're not coming for the package, you're coming for the gems, right? So but you're gonna have one.
Thank you guys. I'm so excited, y'all. Oh my God. I told y'all I knew some dope therapists. Yes. So y'all listen, September fall kickoff. It's popping. You got options, okay? And Jessica, y'all follow her at Envision Counseling, at Envision Counseling on Instagram. I am so full, ladies. I'm going to wrap the show up. I want to thank you publicly. I'm going to let you go about your night and get you here off the screen and text you later. But I wanted to thank you guys so much for being here with me. And I'm going to wrap up the show. Thank you guys, Jessica and Crystalline. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. So, you guys, I told y'all I was in network with very, very cool people. I love them so dearly. And we get to meet for breakfast on Friday, so I get to see them again. But yes, thank you guys so much for sitting with us on this extended time. You heard it here. I have been CJ Christian Jackson, the Daddy Issues expert. And there's a lot going on, as you can see. Of course, the Daddy Issues Healing Circle is on. You can go to my website, and I will go ahead and put it up here on the screen, couchwithchristian.com. My group, the Daddy Issues Healing Circle, already has 3 women signed up, and they have been very patient with me as I've been trying to figure out how to best incorporate and get things started that's best for everyone's schedules and everything. September 13th is when we are actually going to begin. So the same night as Rebuild Intimacy, like Jessica. So you guys have really no excuse to not get into this healing on some level, some way, some fashion. Okay. So if you have any questions, you have the replay. so that you can go back and get Jessica and Krislin's information if you want to direct message them about something. I do want to say that Wellness Wednesday is and has always has always been just for information. It is never a substitute for a relationship with an actual therapist, but you just met 3. And so if you're looking for getting in contact with individual therapy, trying to figure out some support for yourself, please do that. Catch me here Wednesday nights. I think I like this 8 o'clock time. It just kind of works better with my crazy life and my kids and getting them together and safe and ready for bed. And I'm going to go and say my prayers with them right now. So good night to you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and I will catch you next week. Good night.